Well, hello people, and welcome back to part 6 of Yoakley, our vanilla Cities Skylines 2 build. We'll be having a wonderful day. In today's episode, I'd like to address what I consider to be one of the more kind of awkward to use zonings, and this being the higher density stuff, which also qualifies as regular higher density zoning, and as our low rent option. These huge social housing towers that are pretty universal across the world, really. Pretty much every country has some form of social housing, and they're big, they're cubey, they're blocky, there's many of them, and they're all over the place. In the UK, really, growing up, these tend to be known as housing estates, or council estates usually, and are full of flats, tower blocks, and smaller, mass-packed accommodation to accommodate those less wealthy on the spectrum. Now in CS2, these are quite awkward to use buildings. Now in the UK, you can see them in a variety of places. Not that this is a UK-inspired building particularly, but obviously that's my reference to them. You can be in the most affluent area of central London, in Knightsbridge for example, and then walk around the corner and then just see these tower blocks. There's many examples of it around the world. I'm sure Editing Egg will leave some Google Earth examples up for us, right? But for Yoakley's instance and use of these buildings here, I want to develop a housing estate out here by the rail yard, by the less desirable areas of the city, right? So that's what we'll work on today. Because we do need some social housing, some low rent housing in the city for the Sims. So there are still hundreds trapped beneath the rubble from last episode, which is fine. They seem to just be waiting patiently, thankfully, rather than perishing. So let's help them. We need one of the big fire stations, either the Big Chungus vanilla one. You can see here it says that it adds a disaster response unit. Or I think the only other one is the southwest one, which also details a disaster aid office as one of its upgrades. And they're both pretty much the same price and upkeeps. Do I like the southwest one? I think that the vanilla one's enormous, isn't it? Yeah, it's huge. But I don't really think I want a building of this size over here, you know? I'm not really sure. I think if I can tuck the fire station from the southwest pack over here. And then what was the office we want? This one here, right? So specialised rescue workers search for survivors in collapsed buildings, and they must be placed on a roadside or edge of the main building. Wonderful. So it's a little satellite building, is it? Well, how about just across the street there then? Yeah, I think that's a nice little compliment, isn't it? So I want to use the simulation, you know. I don't just want to delete the buildings and be done with it. Let's try and save the people. Oh, there we go. Took a while for them. Just a slow response, isn't it? There we go. Unfortunately, there is still no animation. Oh, so is that all it does anyway? It just deletes the building for you? Okay. I mean, I guess it'll grow back when we get a bit of a commercial demand then, right? Will it rebuild the car parks and stuff? So he just went to the car park. Oh, there we go. Now I have the option to rebuild, do I? Searching for survivors. And now it gives us the option to rebuild it. So if it's a zonable, it just gets deleted anyway. So there's probably no point in even saving them. But with the ploppables, we do have to actually rebuild them, which is fine. We're starting to get some people parked here now, slowly but surely. Maybe the simulation is slowly registering that there is car parking over here for them. But either way, let's get started with today's social housing estate, shall we? So it's going to plug into this road here. Like I mentioned, I want it to be near the less desirable sides of the city. So in that instance, that's by... So in this instance, that is by the recycling centre and the train yard. I want to work with this little space here. So let's start to bring some of these road connections up. Let's go out from this angle here. Now, it's likely we'll develop some significant roundabouts and on and off systems around this road eventually. But for right now, for these smaller suburban projects, I'm just happy with the base game roundabouts, I think. So I want this housing estate to be based around a community centre. And I think there's a few really fun assets we can form something like that from. So first of all, we're already going to need elementary education again, and we will over this side of the city especially. So let's do the urban elementary if I can find it, because there is thousands of schools these days. There is urban elementary school. They are all listed in order of tier, by the way. So let's have this one here. Now this one does have some upgrades, both of which don't increase the footprint, which is really what I want there. So I'm going to have two here, I think. I'm just coming off here. We're going to pop some car parking down in front of this because it's the front of the community centre. I think it's going to make sense, isn't it? Again, we use a vanilla one. Try and encourage the simulation. Let's remove the traffic lights off of that main road there too. Now let's grab this, we'll throw it back there, and then we'll have the other one just directly behind that, shall we? So let's do 136. Give us a room for a little bit of path detailing and possibly some surface extension work during the detailing time lapse. But we'll see what happens. Just match all those up, right? So that'll give us decent capacity here. But again, we're really not that far already off needing upgrades. And then maybe we get stuck into a college next episode. Maybe a dual college university campus, because we're about 1,000 in need for each now, aren't we? They are different colours. Do I hate that? I think I do. If there's going to be colour variations, I suggest perhaps a option to choose. Because I don't sit yet. Well, I'll do it off camera. Fine. So with this here, let's also add some park space into this as well. So definitely a place local youths can come and hang out, right? Give them something to do. Get them off the streets, etc. Schemes, if anyone's ever watched Peep Show, right? I'm hoping there's some Peep Show fans in the comments today. So that reference actually lands. Larger sports parks, in particular the football field, is really what I'm after. And probably one of the basketball centres as well, I think. Cool. So we'll have that there. And let's actually get some of this social housing growing, right? So I mentioned that this core here is going to be the community centre. And I want the towers within very close proximity of this, right, all around here. So there's loads of different choice we can use. Interesting, I've actually only just noticed that the UK pack, it doesn't actually read it as low rent housing, it's high density. Interesting. So it's a French low rent, Chinese low rent, and Eastern European. Interesting, I think I just assumed that, hadn't I? That isn't low rent housing at all, it's high density. Okay. Well, let's run with Eastern European then, because it's probably my favourite behind those high density UK stuff. Let's draw out some different shapes and sizes here. I want to see what we can get growing in. I don't want them dense next to each other, really. After kind of different shapes and sizes around. Now I want to try formulate up some alley roads in the vicinity of the community centre that allow for some really nice pattern repetitions to kick in. I wouldn't mind having some medium density over here. Like, I really am trying to fulfill low rent, so I'll try and keep it somewhat on theme rather than getting distracted. But that has brought our demand down already, which is nice. I don't want this to connect to the national road, so let's not plug in. And then I'm really looking for those, I think 4x3 developments is what I want to run with here. So let's make sure the grid can allow that to happen. So I think we'll leave a space in between for a path to run. So between there and then we'll want 4 tiles essentially. Bring that back down, and then we can get that pattern to repeat on the other side. I really want this estate to be quite visible from the road as well. I think that's going to be quite an important sort of feature. We got some traffic over there, do we? Let's have what's going on the edge of town. Yeah, it's a busy intercity connection, is it? I think it is. We will of course properly develop this hillside once we open up the tile here to essentially what I'm planning is for this road to go straight on and sort of switch back up the hill, allowing for a larger, more significant, higher volume interchange to happen up here rather than them all bottlenecking down there. We'll see though. I've also got some very cool ideas for bridges and ports, which I'll run over with you while we're talking about it. I think we're going to connect the 2 national roads, so this one and this one, with a bypass with a bridge over the mouth of the river, with a port around here as well, and with one of the bridges. So that should look tremendously splendid, I think, once that's ready. But yeah, we'll do that when it releases, of course. Now, admittedly, I'm not a fan of the smaller sort of village-esque stuff here. That's not the vibe I'm looking to create. These ones over here aren't too bad, but I feel like I almost know the asset I want to feature here. And it's not this one. I'm actually going to use some of the UK medium density stuff. Let's bring in some vanilla low rent housing, right, for some of those towers. Usually one of the more unappealing zonings, just in terms of the visual of the building, but I'm almost after that very jarring aesthetic here, you know. Let's continue the sports vibe over here. Let's bring in a little parking road, right, one of my favourites. Let's have that. There is actually parking assets there on the edge of the road, isn't there? On the edge of the field even. but I'm going to justify more because I love my parking roads. And then let's do... We do 2 basketball centers here. We could back to back. There's a lot of park action though. I think it'd be nice though. I think it's the vibe I want for this area, isn't it? This very sense of community, I think, is really what we want to install today, isn't it? And then another little basketball court fits right in the middle, and it almost perfectly works with the textures around the back. This is possible. Yes, please, orientation. I am still getting familiar with the assets in TS2, so stumbling across new little variations like this is... It's live, right? We're doing it live, which is great. So there's a lot of fence happening there, but there's, you know, there's balls flying around, so you've got to be careful, right? Fences are needed. I think it's a combination of basketball-themed assets we can get away to make that look like it's more of a single sort of poppable, unique park, really, isn't it? You know, like a much more fleshed-out basketball centre. I really like that. So it was a bit of an impression. It is starting to come together now. This is really what I'm after here, right? So a mix of these maybe 3-4 story apartment blocks, and then these more obvious kind of social housing tower blocks, right? Definitely a few of these there. Interesting enough, actually, the vanilla option's actually my favourite here for low rent housing. They give the sort of big, chunky 6x6, 5x5 tower blocks that you want for this, I find. And let's talk about what's going to happen near the road. Do you want to open this tile as well? It is probably within our remit now, isn't it? Let's do that one. Yeah. Yeah, I hate tile upkeep, but I won't mention it every time. So let's just bring our arterials down now. Now, we do want this to connect in eventually. There could be some pre-made intersections that we can place. Let's grab the intersections development. And then, yeah, that single point urban, I think, would actually really suit the road network we have here, right? I think it really would. It'll also give us a much chunkier road interchange nearby to the housing estate as well, which will help reduce the land value, which is kind of a key theme of the build today, isn't it? So let's grab that. Now, what we like for terrain here, I want to make sure we're not horrendously tight. So we've got a little bit of height difference between here and where we need to land. Let's push all that back until we're just about happy with what's going on over here. I don't want to change it too much, but I think for a larger project like this, it's always justified. We can always even it out too once we pop that tile. And this will likely connect in with that road you mentioned earlier as well, you know. This one down here. This will be quite an important tile, I think, because we transcend what is a very steep hill. We shall have some fun with switchbacks on that road, which should actually give very nice views back to the whole city from here, especially down the arterial. Looking back to last episode's train station, isn't that a gorgeous sightline right there? Our view down the road is just everything. It's really nice. Huge fan. Let's also get these buildings rebuilt here too. That's to grab that extra tile because the road just sticks out a little bit too much for what I really want. There's something not too dissimilar to that, I think. Now this will become our switch back up the hillside here. I think we want the 6 lane. It does give us the turning lane, I suppose, doesn't it? Yeah, we won't keep it 6 lane around here though. It's a little bit too sort of big really for what I envision for this area looking like eventually. And I think around here we'll drop down into a short stretch of 5 lane asymmetrical. We'll do 56 meters of that. And then we'll drop back into 4 lane asymmetrical. And we'll do 56 meters of that. Okay. That way it gives that lane time to merge. There we go. That's what I want. You can actually have quite a lot of fun and time with the vanilla road tools, can't you? Just configure in highway approaches like that. That's really appreciate that in CS2. Road tools are brilliant. Yeah, they mentioned this in the past. This will become 4 lane. We can probably upgrade that now, actually. So let's make sure we have the very largest roundabout. We'll introduce a super node here. So we can take that one away. Probably should have knocked that back a little bit as well without destroying my zoning, you idiot. There we go. Sorry, UK apartments. And now let's grab our highway roads. We want 2 lane, 1 way. Let's do parallel mode. Is it 1 meter here? Happy with this? Yes, I think I am. Now let's just bring both of these roads into a roundabout like that, okay? And then we can refine any awkward lane maths that we want to do here too. Let's grab a 3-lane road here on the approach, heading into the city on the roundabout, which will also give these lanes a much nicer opportunity, I think, to merge, right? Wonderful. We can really adapt and fit CS2's preset intersections to sort of fill what we need, right? Let's get this other end connected in as well. And that's very dangerous and horrendous, but it'll do for right now. Until we can develop something larger around this lakefront here. We'll probably, I imagine, have another town here. So we'll prepare as another exit as we upgrade that national road flowing through the map. But this is about as big as I want this road to get, right? I don't really want this to be a lot larger than this. In terms of the sort of national road infrastructure, right? And then let's hook in this arterial as well. I'm managing to find myself spending so much longer with the roads on CS2. I'm sure it's because the tool is just much more fleshed out, isn't it? But I have a lot more fun with road network planning. So this road here, in terms of our road structure, this will just be a supporting arterial that runs alongside all this stuff. Again, it can't really go anywhere right now, but it will one day. And then this can just hook in. Let's do 180 degrees, will be fine. Fantastic. Now let's just begin to sort of envision what this switchback here might look like. Let's go for that height there, maybe. And then I just want to start. I'll just do sort of quick click and drags, which looks very rough, but that's almost what I'm after. I find it gives it a much more natural shape when you're changing a cliff face like this, rather than doing big, long, smooth slopes, you know. Sort of little drags, keep clicking. And then with that, I think we can begin to form kind of more definitive ridges, right? And then in and amongst this, I want to find a place where the road can come up. So let's do, let me go this way, have the switchback come up through this little section here. Obviously, this doesn't really have anywhere to go right now, but it can slowly worm its way up, and we can install some fun little viewpoints, little rest stops on a little switchback system like this as it snakes up the hill. Which hopefully as we come down, reveals some cool views of the roads around here. Just ease out some jankier edges there. Happy for some cliff texture to be present, right? That should be really cool to see that road heading up through the valley there, right? Up into the hill. We've done quite a bit of reshaping there, probably a bit more than initially planned, but it allows the switchback to take place, which is a lot of fun, I think. You gonna come use my interchange, Mr. Taxi? Let's see. There it goes. Anyone want to come off down here? Bet they don't. They'll probably carry on straight through from here, won't they? It will one day though, of course. Future prepping our road is always a good idea. And I will leave the light on in the middle as well. Fantastic. So let's get more tower blocks in here, because this is certainly one of the more important visuals of today's build. Let's begin to connect our roads in together here. Let's certainly see another opportunity there for some low rent, so let's do that one. Yeah, let's get another big block there. And this is probably one of the few cases with low rent housing where I won't use one of the content packs, you know, although UK stuff will still be present, which I'm going to use immediately now. Let's actually try some UK high density housing. They should blend quite nicely really around here. Cool, I'd love to have one right here as well, sort of on the, almost like this is the entrance to this town, right? There's a big tower block here right at the front of it, definitely in this space here. I want lots of parking roads around here as well. Let's not neglect them. Not that I ever neglect these parking roads. The best thing in the game. And then let's have, so do you want UK one? The UK towers. Can we do a big 6x6? Oh, we can. We can indeed. We'll have that there. Happy for also for some sort of tree lining here. We could also sound barrier it, actually, now I'm seeing it. Actually, the perfect excuse for the sound barrier upgrade right next to a residential district like that. More works as kind of sort of crash barrier for me, that, but it doesn't really matter. So let's take that. Not all the way down. That should be okay. And then some simple trees along here as well, I think. Nothing overly complex. Just a bit more landscaping, almost an attempt to kind of hide. Now, I wouldn't mind, we do have one down here. One of these little walkways. I wouldn't mind also having something similar cross over the interchange. For people, maybe around this way, another little pedestrian bridge. So let's map that in. We'll use a different model, which we used the arch one down there, didn't we? Let's do pedestrian covered in that case then. And then let's just go up by 10 meters, should be alright. Let's go to that. Back to all our snappings. And then let's just meander down. Just heads back down. Just to make sure we keep this area nice and walkable. I know they will walk on those roads, but I'd rather they didn't. So we'll give them ways to get back into across. And I can envision sort of an elevated suburb here, right? Really sat overlooking the whole town. I think that'd be quite nice one day, won't it? So that's what those pathways will eventually link into. And we're getting lots of people moving in, hence the flood of taxis. Are you alright? Why are you all staggering? You're always waiting to come in here, are you? Okay. Okay, so they're all loitering around. Oh, they are as well. You're not going to go inside? You're sleeping. Are you sure?
Oh.
You are. You're all asleep. Interesting. Okay. Where do you live? Where is this? It's here. Yeah, Birch Street. Yeah, still sleeping. Sleeping. How strange. It would seem there is an epidemic of narcolepsy across the city. People are just falling asleep outside. Look at that. Isn't that wonderful? That's one of the UK ones, that, isn't it? Which this is essentially low rent UK housing, but the simulation doesn't read it as that, which I had actually assumed it was doing. It's not. It's high density housing, that. So there we go. We learn something new every day, don't we? So the tower blocks are coming together quite nicely now, I feel. I'm really happy with how they're beginning to look. We do have some awkward transitional space to work with. Now, I imagine eventually this space here will probably be filled with another chunky industrial unit. Whether that's just processing, it could also be a signature factory. Which we haven't unlocked yet. But we will continue to add industrial vibes over here, of course, where we have the space, but we can't really zone industrial. There's the air pollution here. We'll take it directly over a ton of residential. It's just about leaking in. And they'll tolerate this. Like the closest residential to here will be these guys on the very edges of the yellow. And they're happy. But any further over zone than that, especially sort of over here, right, you can see it's going to pass right over all these people. And it'll give us a ton of air pollution warnings. So we can't do that here. So I think to help save some transitional space, what we will do is use some surfaces instead. Now, I'll have to sand here in particular. Also wouldn't mind a little bit of northeast mixed use, I think, along the main street. Just in the occasional block, I think. And then with the surfaces, I just want to create more of a well-trodden path, really. I'm going to come off all the snap-ins and then just click in every half second or so. Just meander the desire lines of where you imagine citizens would walk, right? So unfortunately the gravel path is really missing from CS2. But we can imitate something similar with the sand surface at least. So we'll have that through there like that. And then I want to make this area quite densely forested. Let's bring an arrangement of our larger trees around the area. And then just adjacent from this, let's go for some small office here. Why don't we try... That's just some local workspaces. Nothing really bigger than 4, really, shall we say. Now, if you download the extra networks mod, you can also make this space walkable. In vanilla, you would have to run pathway. That's not really the vibe I want around here. I just want that well-trodden dirt space to transition between this landfill and the residential area, right? I'd be pretty happy with that. I also noticed we had some healthcare demands over here earlier. We're still pretty much alright for capacity. Average health could do with being a little bit better, maybe 58% is a little bit low. We could also do with the other higher school as well. I'm inclined to keep it... Then again, I have just remembered the size of the UK one. I almost want to place this. It's 330 grand, so I shouldn't get used to placing it just to see what it looks like, but I'm almost immediately sold on that already, you know. Exactly the vibe I want. It's not too big. Quite chunky as well. Also, it's going to help us transition the space between residential and industrial. What we've just done down there on the other end of the corner. Like that. And now I have this here, I can certainly also envision perhaps some more northeast mixed use. Yeah. Making sure we have the correct zoning that we want at least. Are we not lined up through here? Why are we broken? Let's have a little correction here if we can. There we go. It gives us the whole grid there. And then just a little stretch of that mixed use. In terms of where we'll go here, how are we doing for garbage actually? Do we need more capacity? No, we're still alright. This recycling centre is so much better. Bearing in mind I am saving some real estate around this for the eventual upgrades that will come into play. So let's remember to leave a radius around that. So just making some further road connections where it makes sense for everyone to meet up, yeah? And we can start to see the social housing estate form now. These things can vary in size as well. They can be absolutely enormous, especially from some of my experience with them in the UK. They can be very big. I also really like what's happened there. Unfortunately, that won't stay because these will level up. What level are they at now? 2? 2? Yeah, everything's at 2. That'll probably change, but that's a very happy accident. That'll be nice if it stays like that. Let's also get some postbox action around here as well. I think everyone from recently has been fairly well covered, haven't they? Or postage out here, I suppose. There we go. I'll fix that. Fabulous. And the post sorting facility could also be something we put over here. Which for a town of 23,000, I guess that's quite a lot of mail, isn't it? It would also be a great workers' centre as well for people living on the housing estate. You can imagine that the local post sorting facility would employ a lot of people from here. It'd also be very nice against the highway. Do we want to explore that then, everyone? Let's dive into the wonderful world of communications. It's only 2 development points. Server farm's a little more high-tech. I think we'll probably put that maybe in the university, maybe. We're looking forward to building a campus with all the stuff we have now. So post-sorting facility won't fit here. Not on that road anyway. Yeah, so we can squeeze it in. It is very tight against the highway, but I can live with it. We can do a bush barrier or something. We don't quite have enough cash for it yet though. We'll have to wait for that to build up. And it would be a really impressive main street asset, wouldn't it? I'm going to go for it. We'll wait for that cash to pile up and we'll bring in the post-sorting facility, I think. In terms of what's going to happen behind these blocks, I think I would like to bring in some parking road fun, if I dare. Now, we're not quite straight here, so I think what we will do is just allow the grid to continue to be whole as it moves down. And then we'll break it more toward the end of the recycling centre here. And then I just want some pedestrian roads that come down here. What are we like for pollution at this point? It's very minimal, isn't it, from the recycling centre. So we can be relatively close with residential. Which is also going to be another great spot for some of our social housing again, isn't it? Let's use some more of these roads in different and interesting configurations. You have to find lots of little parking spaces tucked in these estates and around the side of buildings, alleyways, etc. My grandparents lived on one of these estates when I was a kid, so I spent many childhood years around these things. Lots of no ball game signs, etc. I'm sure the UK gang will absolutely know what I'm talking about. Now, let's see what you think of the mixed use as well. Yeah. I went with northeast because I want the older brick. Southwest, I think, would have been too modern. Although that's very modern, isn't it? Thing is, though, you can actually get some like modern social housing now. It's almost like they're trying to, I don't want to say correct the mistakes of the past, because I think the brutalist architecture can be admired in a way. But they definitely don't build them like this anymore. You know, they make them look modern now. Again, more examples of that I've seen driving around the UK as well. So let's get our post-sorting facility in. We can have this right in the main road. And I hope it was worth it, because it was very expensive. But you know, there's a bit of a local point of employment. I really like that there. It's also a great kind of edge of town service, isn't it? Just as a bit of a sub note as well here after placing this post-sorting facility is that our money has skyrocketed per hour. It's almost doubled actually. To 144,000 an hour after just placing this. We've definitely not done that in tax revenue today because there's only, you know, a handful of residential zonings here. But yeah, interesting that one of the more expensive service assets has actually massively helped the economy there. But yeah, I mean, collected mail and delivered mail has steadily risen over time. Not too much really about it, is there? Yeah. Okay, but yeah, just interesting to note for those regarding money per hour. It has jumped us up a lot placing the post-sorting facility for some reason. So the highway's flowing here, people coming over the middle. Need to smooth that terrain out there a bit, don't I? It kind of bows a little bit unnecessarily there. I'll smooth that out during the time lapse. Which feels like a good point for it now. I'm really loving this view here in particular. Right, we can see our social housing blocks here. Very distinctive skyline. Should also look quite sort of distinctive as well from the other side of the city. If we were to plop down, for example, in the town centre. Yeah, right. You can see these tower blocks, especially in the UK again, as my point of reference, is you see them for miles, right? They're really big, some of them. Yeah, so that's a great sightline, isn't it? Really nice, that. I think it's important not to overuse that. That's why I'm kind of calling it today's episode, whatever it's called, you know? How to address the most awkward demand or whatever it is. It's going to be something along those lines. Because I think if you have this everywhere, it looks very daunting and quite unrealistic. So I think isolating them to their own estates and using them, especially with vanilla and UK stuff, I think blends together nicely, doesn't it? But let's get it detailed. Lots of green space to fill. I'm going to carry on putting these developments together, customize some playgrounds for the children in them, etc. And then see what we can develop in our sort of edge of city highway side social housing estate next to the tracks. Let's get some snacks and do some detailing, and then we'll be right back. Alright guys, well that'll do it for today. Let's thank you all so much for watching. I'm really happy with how this area of the city has turned out. We've got lots of low rent housing here, alongside some high and medium density as well. But those low rent really helping us to satisfy some of those demands that were in the city. I also dropped in a few stone mining extractors here as a placement of kind of a building site. You know, maybe they're building more low rent houses here or further housing developments. So using the stone mines as essentially mock vanilla construction sites is really what I'm trying to go for here. Hence their positioning around the current estate. But lots of schools, office, commercial, detailing and fun tucked in around the area, alongside some garbage service expansion as well. With some really nice traffic flow on the entrance to the city. The new interchange has definitely taken the pressure off of what was going on around here. Otherwise, a massive thank you to the YouTube members and patrons that support these videos, with a roll call to our Golden Egg patrons: Andrew Perez, Bad Wolf, Blythe, Casino, Darius, Lara Roberts, Louis Adlam, Michael W, Phoenix MD, Spartan Angel, and Wesley Kip. Thank you so much indeed for all your support, guys. If you want to get involved in that, early access, bonus features, podcasts, and much more on the Patreon down below if you're interested. Otherwise, enjoy today's cinematics, and I'll shut up and leave it there. Thank you so much indeed for all your support on Vanilla CS2. I am very much enjoying it, and I hope you are as well. I'll catch you in the next one. And as always, enjoy the rest of your day.